Hi. So the city with the most coffee shops on earth isn't Seattle, it's not Milan or Vienna, not even Tokyo. It's Shanghai. Over 9,100 coffee shops in this one single city, more than London and New York combined together. So now you're probably thinking, China invented tea. That's right, but somehow it became the world's capital city of coffee now. Can you believe it? It's not a coincidence. It's not some Gen Z trends. There's almost 200 years of history behind this. And it started in a pharmacy. So stick with me. I'm going to take you through this journey. So after the First Opium War, Shanghai was forced to open as a trading port in 1843. Foreigners moved in, hotels opened, and along with medicine, jazz, and everything else, including coffee. And the first person to sell a coffee in Shanghai isn't a barista. It was a British pharmacist. He sold it out in his drugstore, and the drugstore was located in Nanjing Road, which is very central in Shanghai. He sold coffee as a cough remedy, but the locals weren't convinced. But later the shop just did so well on coffee and pastries that eventually it was turned into a food restaurant, and that became the first generation of coffee in Shanghai. And later we fast forward into 1920s to 30s. Shanghai was already praised as the Paris of the East. Jazz, gangsters, foreign concessions, and cafes everywhere on the street. And during that time, the artists, the writers, the revolutionaries, they all loved to meet in cafes. Some of the cafes even became the very unofficial headquarters of China's very first political movements. Actual meetings and revolutionaries actually held in those cafes. Some of the coffee shop sites are reserved. Till today, you can still go and visit. And there's a famous quote from Lu Xun. The guy is one of China's greatest modern writer. He tell you that how popular the coffee culture was back then. He said, "I am not genius. I just use the time others spend in a coffee shop to write." Of course, he was mocking some intellectuals who sat around in the coffee shops and do the talking. But the fact also is, back then, coffee shops were just everywhere. People just loved to spend time there. But the real revolution, it came with the Jewish refugees from Vienna in the late 1930s. The Jewish refugees fleeing Europe, many from Vienna, one of the greatest cafes in the world, right? They arrived in Shanghai in huge numbers. And then things started to change. They brought their own coffee culture, the very boutique Vienna's, coffee houses, Australian pastries with beautiful names like Cafe Elite. And of course, Shanghai took them in and adapted into its own culture. That's generation 2 of coffee. And now here's what I think is the most important piece of the history, but it's hard to put in just statistics. Shanghai has always had its particular idea and taste of itself. There's even a term for it called Haipai, which literally means Shanghai style. It's this very Shanghai blend of cosmopolitanism, pragmatism, and even a little bit of showing off, It's an idea that this city tastes the world first and remix them into something unique to its own. In Beijing, you can find tea houses and politics, and in Shanghai, you will find its very unique aesthetics and cafes. That's not something cliche. It's just a real different culture. And even now, you can still see that in the older generations. The old gentlemen in suits and ties, they sit around with their friends in cafe in the French concession. For them, coffee was never just a drink. It was status and a signal of that I've seen the world, I've seen better, and I've been around all the time. That sense of identity never disappeared. It just passes down. And the city itself also did a lot on this. Shanghai is so dense. 24 million people, mostly walking or on the subway. You can't even go 50 meters without noticing a cafe. So in a city that moves so fast, coffee is like the energy and the fuel. And most of it is takeaway. Easy grab and go. That's the Shanghai rhythm. This tradition keeps the number of coffee shops sky high. So what does all of this look like today in Shanghai? And if we look at China nationally, The new generation of coffee drinkers in Shanghai, half of them are local Shanghainese. Half of them, they just moved to Shanghai from nationwide. They didn't grow up with Nespresso. They grew up on milk tea. So here's what happened instead of a battle between tea or coffee. These two, they just merged. You now have osmosis lattes, coconut cold brew, coffee with orange soda, which is my favorite, and coffee with oolong teas. And the local chains figured out before the international ones did. They understood that young consumers are expecting something different. They want a different coffee ritual, a different coffee shop design, different aesthetics, and flavor can really entertain and customize for their very personal flavors. But does that sound like a compromise? No. Honestly, it's just innovation. And the coffee in Shanghai has always adapted to whoever the city wanted it to be. Back in 1833, it was just medicine. In 1930s, looks like a political salon. And the 1990s serves as inspiration. And now it was more like a canvas that you can use your creativity and imagination to come up with new things. So why does Shanghai really have more coffee shops than anywhere around the world? Part history, part the city design, part cultural identity. But mostly because Shanghai has already decided this 200 years ago, that it is going to be a city that drink coffee, and it never really changed its mind. It's just natural elevation of what it used to be. So did you ever try any weird fusion drinks or mixed coffees or coffees in China or anywhere else? For me, I'm going to order my orange soda flavored coffee now. I'll see you in the next video.